We now shift our focus to the Russia-Ukraine war, where Ukraine's energy crisis is only intensifying. Even as the Russian missiles and drones continue to strike its energy infrastructure and the blackouts spread across multiple parts. And to make matters worse, two European Union members, Hungary and Slovakia, have stopped diesel deliveries to Ukraine, stemming from a dispute over an oil pipeline that has now led to the European Commission now stepping in, further compounding the crisis that has already left millions of Ukrainians without reliable power during the coldest months. According to Ukraine, overnight, Russia launched an Iskander-M ballistic missile and 128 drones towards the country. The Ukrainian air defenses shot down 107 drones. However, the ballistic missile and 21 attack drones struck as many as 14 locations. At least 9 civilians were injured across the country in these strikes. In Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, 6 people were injured. In Kharkiv Oblast, strikes hit the regional center and 11 other settlements, injuring 2 civilians. While an early morning strike on critical infrastructure in Zaporizhia left up to 41,000 people without electricity. And according to Ukraine's energy ministry, following the attacks on energy infrastructure, power outages continue in Mykolaiv, Sumy, Kharkiv, among other regions. While Russia says overnight attacks by Ukraine killed a man and injured a woman in Sevastopol, Moscow also says its air defenses intercepted and destroyed 149 Ukrainian drones over Russian regions. As the war drags on the diplomatic front, here's what's happening. According to reports, a potential next round of talks may be held next week itself in Geneva. This year's third round of trilateral talks among Russia, the US, Ukraine concluded early this week itself. For the first time, territorial issues were incorporated into the talking agenda, with the US also stating that all parties agreed to continue further dialogue. And while chairing a Security Council session, the Russian president also asked negotiators to report on the Geneva talks. And Ukraine has been experiencing severe blackouts and heating failures due to the sustained Russian attacks on its energy infrastructure. We've been telling you about this. In the southern city of Odessa, residents queuing up for water during the extended power cuts. This is the reaction coming in.
We are experiencing what everyone calls a blackout. Since the 12th, there has been no electricity at all in our house, or rather in 3 houses.
As the strikes continue, Ukraine now faces additional pressure on its fuel supplies. Hungary and Slovakia have halted diesel supplies to Ukraine after an alleged Russian attack on the Druzhba pipeline in Ukrainian territory knocked it out of service. The two countries rely on Russian crude transported through the pipeline and have accused Kiev of deliberately delaying the repairs for political reasons. Hungary and Slovakia have warned they could extend their measures to electricity and gas supplies if the pipeline is not repaired. Just for perspective here, in January, the two countries accounted for more than 60% of Ukraine's electricity imports. The European Commission has convened an emergency oil coordination group meeting scheduled for next Wednesday. With Hungary, Slovakia and Croatia participating, the Commission spokesperson said the meeting will be discussing the impact of the supply disruption and possible alternatives. And as the Russian attacks strain Ukraine's grid and diplomatic tensions with the neighboring countries complicate the fuel flows, Ukraine confronting mounting challenges just to keep its lights on and its economy running. Imagine a law that tells a man he can beat his wife as long as he does not break her bones or leave open wounds. This is not conjecture. This is the new legal reality under the Taliban in Afghanistan. The Taliban have issued a 60-page penal code and circulated it to courts across the country reportedly. The code labels spousal violence as a discretionary offense, not a crime. In simple words, a husband can strike his wife or even his children and the state will look the other way as long as there are no broken bones, no open wounds. And even if a woman proves serious injury, the maximum punishment for the abuser is just 15 days in jail. 15 days. That's the value given to a woman's suffering. And the system makes justice nearly impossible. A woman who wants to complain must appear before a male judge, fully veiled and accompanied by a male guardian. In most cases, that guardian is possibly the very husband who beat her up. How is this even justice? How is this even law? The legal code contains no clear ban on physical, psychological, sexual violence against women. Since returning to power in August 2021, the Taliban have removed the earlier protections for women, including a 2009 law that criminalized forced marriage, rape, and domestic abuse. The crackdown does not even stop there. A woman who flees to her parents' home without her husband's permission, even to escape violence, faces up to 3 months in prison. Her family can be jailed for the same time period for sheltering her. Women cannot show their faces in public. They cannot speak freely to men. They are even warned to not speak loudly inside their own homes. This is institutionalized oppression, written into law. Meanwhile, the British Prime Minister has a growing reputation. His policies are not being talked about. His way of governing is not the story here, not his foreign policies or any of those matters. Rather, this is about mastering the art of changing his mind. In one word, U-turns. In just 19 months in office, you know how many major U-turns K.S. Tame has taken? At least 14 of them, that's the count. 14 reversals on key policies ranging from local elections to pub businesses. In fact, since taking office, he reversed course repeatedly, whether it's under pressure from his own party, opposition parties, or public backlash. And at the start of this week, the Prime Minister defended policy U-turns from the winter fuel payment cuts to disability benefit reductions and inheritance tax hikes affecting farmers. And then, within 2 hours of that defense, any guesses what he did? Well, a U-turn on his policies. He basically abandoned plans to delay 30 council elections. All 30 elections will go ahead in the month of May as originally planned. His latest reversal has been the swiftest one so far, in fact. It lasted just 25 days. The reversal, the Labour Party said, was made after seeking fresh legal advice amid a challenge mounted by the Reform UK party. But the pattern does not stop there. Last September itself, the UK Prime Minister announced plans for a mandatory digital ID system to verify the right to work in Britain. Opposition parties condemned it. Public support collapsed. Within 109 days, the government diluted the policy. The once compulsory digital ID check is now optional. And then came the pub tax revolt. In her budget presented in November 2025, the UK government's chief financial minister cut the pandemic-era business rate relief for the British pubs from 75% to 40%. And the backlash was immediate. Pub owners protested. Labour MPs faced anger in their constituencies. 43 days later, the Labour government introduced a major U-turn. The political cost of this reversal appears to be mounting as well. In August 2024, 43% of the Britishers said that Starmer was performing badly. That figure now standing at 69%. It's a huge jump. Since 2016, he is the 6th politician to take charge as the country's prime minister amid the growing unpopularity and a series of reversals. The immediate question still is Britain heading towards a 7th prime minister in less than 10 years? To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.